shadow work. What is it? How do we do it? Why does it matter? That's the topic of today's Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, International Soul Embodiment Guide and relationship expert. And before I dive deep into what the subconscious is and why it affects our relationships and how we show up in life, I want to mention that I am doing a free online event on Tuesday, July 22nd. So mark your calendar, register using the link below. It will take you to the path2sovereignty.com to register. It's called The Power of the Feminine, and it's on the feast day of Mary Magdalene at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check your time zone. That's 10 a.m. Pacific Time and 19 hours in Paris. So I'll talk more about that at the end, but I want to dive right away into the subconscious because we talk a lot about shadow work now. We talk a lot about going into the shadow, accepting the shadow, being with the shadow. And all of that is important because when we're not doing, quote, shadow work, then our subconscious is what's ruling the day instead of the conscious mind. So you can feel this big disconnect between what you think and what you feel. And the reason is that what the shadow basically means is that it's not conscious yet. It can be made conscious. It's not conscious yet. Shadow doesn't mean that's who you are, right? We don't go into the shadow to stay in it or to identify with it. The shadow is that which might be blocking you, for example, from having the relationship you desire. Because if you are subconsciously holding on to beliefs of unworthiness, then you are likely accepting and tolerating less than you deserve, or not honoring your boundaries, not speaking your truth. There are a myriad of ways in which unworthiness can show up in relationships. And you might know, I am equal. I have the right to be here, the right to speak my truth. You can know all of that consciously. But until you start working with the shadow, I said that with parentheses because that's a term that is globally used, but is not necessarily a term I like to adhere to, then you're never going to access that information. Why don't I like the term? Because I don't think that the shadow is anything that is different than just self-knowledge. The shadow is more what I refer to as the subconscious, because the subconscious is that which is beneath the level of consciousness. And therefore it's in the, quote, darkness, which is why we call it the shadow. It hasn't yet seen the light. It hasn't yet seen the light of awareness. It hasn't yet seen the light of consciousness. But as soon as you bring the light of awareness into it, it's no longer shadow. How do we access the subconscious? And why does it matter? I'm going to start with why it matters, because as I started to say, when we're not working with the subconscious, and I'm just going to refer to shadow as subconscious from now on, then we are beholden to old ways of being or inherited belief systems that don't actually serve us. And what I've been finding in my own life, and I've been doing work with the subconscious for many, like 8+ years now, consciously working with the subconscious. And what I find within myself is that often there are these very old identities, ways in which I identify with something being a certain way, that is actually rooted in the subconscious, that can be really hard to detect unless you're spending a lot of time getting to know yourself, or you're working with someone like myself who's a guide who takes you there intentionally. For example, if you're identifying with, I don't have enough, I don't have enough love, I don't have enough support, I don't have enough money. If you grew up in scarcity, if you grew up with not having enough, if you were told no, we don't have enough, whatever that story is from this life or another, and you're holding on to that story subconsciously, definitely was an old story / identity that I had for a really long time. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. Very old story. And it was like an identity. It was so ingrained in my energy system and my subconscious that I really didn't even know how to separate myself from it. And it took years of unraveling pieces of this and beliefs related to this to help me start to realize that it was actually an identity that wasn't the truth of who I am. Which is why this is the core of work I do with my clients, is we go in and help you access what is your untruth so you can claim and embody your truth, your soul's truth, your divine truth. The truth of who you are. And the truth of who I am as a divine being, as an eternal soul, is anything but lacking. Your divinity, your divine nature is inherently abundant. God's source goddess is abundance made manifest. And so if you're identifying with anything but abundance, you're in lack, which is not your soul's truth. Pushakataya tokaya. Little light language wanted to come through for that. And when I speak light language, quick side note, because a few times this has come through in the podcast, it's not often that I allow it to come through on the podcast, but it's basically words of frequency and sound and light that work with the subconscious, that access the soul. They speak to the soul directly. It's like waking up the soul. Boom, 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 boom. Listen here, soul. There's like something here for you to remember. Because the system very much wants us to be in lack. And when I say the system, I don't mean like us against them. And I don't get into those stories. What I mean is, as a collective belief system, we have been entrained to be in lack, because when we're in lack, we're not in our truth and we're not in our power, and we're usually not in our sovereignty when we're in lack. And it took a lot of unclenching, like my grip on this identity of not having, identity of being a victim, identity of scarcity, identity of sacrifice, this or that. I can't have both. All of these very deeply embedded subconscious beliefs that were also not only affecting my financial life, not only affecting what I said yes to, not said yes to, getting what I quote wanted, my soul desires, going for them. But also it affected my relationships. Oh, well, will I get better than this? Do I have to settle for X because, well, I really like Y? All lack mentality. And the only way through is to access the subconscious. And we access the subconscious through our feeling state. The subconscious is basically your body, which is why, as an embodiment guide, the body is the key to your power, to your truth, to your sovereignty, to living the life you actually desire. And it's why I teach sacred body wisdom workshops. I'm doing a tour right now around the East Coast. If you're on the East Coast, go to the website, see if I'm going to be in an area near you, everywhere from Asheville to Abingdon, Virginia, to Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire. Go there to pathtosovereignty.com, check in-person workshops, see if I'm near you. There is an online version if you're international and or not on the East Coast. There's an online version of the Sacred Body Wisdom series that you can access right now that is basically teaching you how to access the subconscious mind. It is teaching you how to go into the body and work with it in this way as energy. We're definitely not taught these things. I was never taught these things. So these are things that I have discovered on an initiatory path into divine feminine power over many, many years. And when we are bringing our awareness, our attention into the body, I did an episode on the podcast last week around embodiment, 3 keys to embodiment. So listen to that if you haven't already. When we're going into the body consciously with our awareness, we're going to access feelings. You can't not feel when you go into the body. And how you receive those feelings determines whether or not that energy is going to move through you and flow into your consciousness so that you can work with it and allow the energy to not only move, whether it be an emotion or a memory or a visual, but also to then decide, is this my truth? Is this the truth of who I am? Is this what I want to believe? Is this what I choose to carry forward in my life? And if not, what do I need to shift on an emotional and energetic and mental level to align to the truth of who I am? That's soul embodiment. You know yourself, including your subconscious, your quote shadow. You let yourself see all of you. All of you is welcome. All of you is seen. All of you is acknowledged. Talk about deep self-love. All of you is welcome and seen and acknowledged. When you can develop that relationship with you, whew, that's true love. When you can develop that relationship with another person and receive that, whew, talk about a strong partnership. When you welcome all of you, you have the opportunity to discern, to decide, is this mine? Is this my truth? By accessing what is your soul truth in and through your body and heart. You're not going to access it in your mind. Your mind is full of what everybody else has told you, what the world has told you. Your heart, your body, which is the energy of your soul, knows your truth. Your unique soul truth, which is not my truth, which is not anybody else's truth. It's not your parents' truth. It's not your partner's truth. It's not your kids' truth. It's your inner truth. The goal of the Sacred Body Wisdom, online or in person, you know your truth. You know your body. You know your wisdom. You know your power, your sovereignty. It teaches you how to do that. And there's no other way actually to have true freedom. It will not come from your mind. It has to be felt and embodied and experienced. And if you want to embody something, you got to get into the subconscious because it's in the body. It's in the body. It's through your feeling state. And then as that comes up, you receive it with your heart. And then you bring it to your heart and your body. And you choose which direction to take this in. For example, with this old identity I was clinging to unconsciously, consciously, but unconsciously, it was both. I had pieces that were conscious, pieces that were unconscious of not having enough support, blah, blah, blah. And I don't mean blah, blah, blah in a condescending way. I mean it in a very loving way, but they're also blah, blah, blah stories, right? There's these stories we create based on our beliefs that we have, based on our experiences, and we keep moving them into new aspects of our life, even when they don't serve us anymore, because it's the subconscious running the show. And I have to be willing to let go of that part of me that actually found some sense of safety in not having and was so identified with not having, didn't actually know how to have. It felt scary. It feels scary when you're letting go of old identities. It feels scary. It's an identity shift. It's an ego death. It's scary to let go of what you've always known. I'm in a big phase of that right now in my life. If you haven't already heard about my journey that I'm on right now. I'm traveling the East Coast. I'm not doing this because my mind said to. My soul called me on this journey. And I'm teaching and I'm researching and I'm writing. I'm working on my book. And I'm going to places I've never been before. And everything in my life feels very unknown. When I left my place last year to travel to Europe for my own research for my own book and my work, I had no idea that I'd be doing this spring. Or wait, fall. We're in the fall already almost. We're in the summer. Gosh. Because part of coming into your soul's truth is that you're not knowing with your mind as much as you are with your body, heart, soul. Because that's in the moment, 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 you know what you need to know. You can't get there. You can't live that way without simultaneously doing the subconscious, quote, shadow work. So let's recap. What is the subconscious? What is the shadow? That aspect of you, the beliefs, the conditioning, the karma. I've done episodes on karma recently. That are below the level of your consciousness, you still have not brought the light of awareness to. Why does the subconscious matter? Because until you access your subconscious mind, you're not actually in choice. You're living based on the past and what you knew and who you were then, not who you are now. How do you access the subconscious? By going into your body and working with your feeling state. You access the subconscious through what you feel, what's showing up in your life, but how you feel. And you go into it with curiosity, consciousness, observer consciousness, witness consciousness, and you align it to your soul's truth. And if you don't know how to do that, the Sacred Body Wisdom series or online, or in-person workshops teach you how to do that. And the free The Power of the Feminine event, again, don't forget, put on your calendar, register using the link below. We're going to go into what ancient feminine power is, which is very deeply connected to the shadow and very deeply connected to ego death and aligning to your soul, your divine truth. I hope to see you there. Jessica Falcon, thepathtosovereignty.com, so we can find all of this information. I'll put the links below, and I will see you on the podcast next week. Lots of love.